Your habits could be the thing that's crushing you or helping you. Let's talk about how you create the best ones. Welcome everybody to the Edgy Entrepreneur Podcast, where we believe that if you're not focusing on your mindset shifts, you are leaving 80% of your potential in life and business on the table. So welcome back. We are your co-hosts. I am Coach Daniel Tribby.
And I am Coach Oriana Guevara.
How are we doing today, Oriana?
Doing great. Having fun. Looking forward to this conversation.
Yes, this is a conversation that I think a lot of people need to hear. Mm-hmm. And this is based around your habits. I mean, we hear all the time, oh, we got bad habits. I got good habits. I got this. I got that. And is there really such a thing as a good habit or a bad habit? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think good and bad are subjective, but there is such a thing as a habit that supports your ability to move towards a desired outcome, mm-hmm. and a habit that does not support your ability to get an outcome that you want. And we do those things all of the time. Anyway, we even do them knowing that they are causing a barrier to our ability to make progress in some specific area, and we'll do them anyway.
Absolutely. So what do we think when we create a habit? Why is it that it's so hard to actually change and keep up with this new habit? Why is this the case? Like, people can't just be like, you know what I'm going to do today? I am going to start training for a marathon, and I'm going to keep it up for the next 60 something days, and then I'm going to run this marathon and crush it. How come that actually doesn't ever happen?
Yeah, I think mostly because when people do try to make changes toward a big goal that quickly, let's say maybe whatever they call cold turkey, they think that they can make those changes based on will alone.
Ooh,
and
tell us more about that.
Your willpower, which is just a very strong desire and ambition, is not enough to get your body to do things, right? And this is where we start to need to really look at habits. You know, I hear habits talked about in kind of a really loose way, like, oh, it's, I just need to make a new habit, or that's just a bad habit I have, because that's just. I think that people really are missing a fundamental understanding of what a habit actually is and the impact that it has on your body, right? A habit is essentially muscle memory, right? The body is the unconscious mind, and the body gets attached and associated to doing certain things in a certain way, to having a certain chemical cocktail of hormones every day, to having a certain balance or imbalance of, different types of food every day, right? And to having a certain type of response to whatever your inputs are, right? So if those inputs are not good or not conducive to what you want, and you can talk about this better than I can since you're a medical professional.
How
right?
dare you throw me under the bus?
If you're not putting in the proper inputs, you're not going to get the proper outputs that you want your body to do. I mean, that is just the most basic kindergarten level that I can find to describe what a habit does, right? The habit is just responding, your body's response to whatever the inputs are. So garbage in, garbage out, right? If you have certain poor sleep habits, eating habits, exercise habits, different things like that, your body's not going to respond in a way that's different than what the inputs are. It's going to respond in accordance. And those things might be conducive to getting you closer to your goals, or they might not. But at the end of the day, your willpower is not enough. That's really the point I want to make. The willpower is not enough, which is just your strong desire is not enough to get your body to do things that it's accustomed or even addicted to doing, mm-hmm. and that it's programmed muscle memory over.
Right. So the title of this episode is actually "Your Goals Are Not Out of Reach. Your Habits Just Suck." All right. So let's break this down. Okay. So what I find a lot of people doing is that they create a goal. Let's talk about the goal first. So the goal is usually the problem. The goal that they create is not an intention to a shift in behavior. Yeah. The goal is a very short-term thing. Okay, here's an example is what I mean. Oh my God, I'm getting married in 6 months. I got to fit into my wedding dress. I need to lose 15 pounds. Mm-hmm. So is your goal to lose 15 pounds to be healthier, or is your goal to lose 15 pounds so you look good on the day of your wedding? because there's two very different goals there and very different outcomes afterwards, right? You can set the intention that I need to lose 15 pounds so I look good on my wedding day, but then that was the goal that you set. So usually what happens after that?
Yeah, people go backwards on whatever the actions were that they needed to take.
I hit my goal. Let's celebrate, baby. Cheeseburger, fries, pizza, beer. Let's go,
Sure.
right? Like you
Gain
get
it
all
all
that
back.
stuff, right? So you go right back to where you were because your intention was to look good in your wedding dress. Your intention was not to live a healthier lifestyle for your spouse, for your kids, for your longevity of your own self.
Right, which is the short-term sprint type of behavior that we find ourselves in, which we refer to oftentimes as that high achiever archetype, right? That you go into these short-term sprints and bursts of intense energy in order to meet a goal. And then once you meet that goal, then what, right? One, it's not as satisfying as you thought that it was going to be. But two, like you said, you're prone to going back on whatever it was because you exhausted yourself to get there. Right. And so we need to make this not only a shift in actions, but a shift in mindset from high achievement in short bursts and sprints to long-term sustainable high performance.
Yes.
Just something totally different. Right. When people talk about high performance habits, that is what they're referring to is long-term sustainable habits that you actually, with intention, take the time and energy to build with an understanding that they're not only going to move you towards a particular goal, but that they are going to be sustainable over time. They're not meant just for you to accomplish some short-term sprint.
Right.
And this is what you're talking about, right, in that example, which is, do you want to lose 10 pounds just because you have an event coming up, or do you want to lose that same amount of weight because you want to be a healthier individual in your body?
Mm-hmm.
Two totally different goals, honestly.
Right. And two different mindsets that go along with those goals.
Absolutely.
Right. So first thing, let's set intentional goals. Like, what do we really want? Mm-hmm. Okay. Do I want to just look good on the day of, or do I want to have this long-term change? Right. So let's take a look at how we frame our goals in our own minds.
Yeah.
Right. What are we actually looking for? Okay. And then let's change the way we look at habits. Okay. This cold turkey bullshit that everybody thinks they can do doesn't work.
Right.
Okay, the way is small incremental change. Okay, the 1 degree rule. So listen to this. Did you know that an airplane that leaves from LA flying to New York, if it's off on its vectors by 1 degree, it ends up in Florida where we are? 1 degree.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, that's a huge difference,
more
right?
than what, 1,800-mile difference, more or less? Close. Yeah.
So think about 1 degree of change over a long period of time. Stop trying to think that you can, if you've never gotten up at 6 a.m. to start a workout program or to begin working on your side hustle that's going to become your business. If you've never done that before and you're used to getting up at 7:30 every morning and you think to yourself, I'm going to get my ass in gear, I'm going to start tomorrow. You're going to get up at 6 a.m. You might be able to do it for 2, maybe 3 days. But after that,
with a strong will,
you're out. 2
or 3 days.
After that, you're like, nah, bro, I'm out. Because there's always going to be 2 people competing with you, right? Yeah. There's always the person who's used to the 7:30, okay? And then there's the new person who's trying to be excited about the 6 a.m. Mm-hmm. And these 2 people are not married to each other. They don't like each other. They hate each other. The 7:30 person wants to be on the normal schedule that they live on. The 6 a.m. person is maybe really gung-ho, but over time, what happens? The 7:30 person wins. Mm-hmm. So incremental changes. So what do I mean by incremental changes or 1 degree changes? These are things that you can do in small chunks of time. Okay. So if you have never been used to getting up at 6 a.m. to now start your workout routine or to start working on a side hustle or apply more time to certain aspects of your business, rather than give yourself an extra 90 minutes, start with 15.
Sure.
Go to 7:15, then go to 7, then go to 6:45, and slowly back yourself into that. So, and this should take you probably anywhere from, I would say, a month to 66 days, because it takes how long to make a permanent change to your habits?
It takes 66 days.
Bayow. So
yeah, most people think it's half that.
It's not.
Yep.
Okay, it is definitely not.
And they get worn out and quit halfway there.
Yeah. And that's usually because they don't take the increments. They don't use the 66 days to create a habit. Mm-hmm. They just try to change it immediately. And then when that resistance shows up, they give into it because it's what they know, right?
Yeah. I want to mention also, when it comes to the 66 days, and, for those of you that are thinking, oh my gosh, that is so much longer than I ever thought or than I ever have heard before. That's based on the work of Robin Sharma. But it's 66 days because creating a new habit, this is the part that people ignore, before you could even invest in creating a new habit energetically, you actually have to deconstruct the existing habit, right? Which is part of what Coach Tribby is referring to by saying take these small incremental changes and push them back 15 minutes. And there's other aspects of that deconstruction, right? We talked about setting an intention. That is part of the deconstruction of a prior habit that is not supporting you, right? Another piece of that deconstruction process would be shifting your personal identity. Right? If you don't actually see yourself as a person that highly values health and wellness to the extent that they wake up at 6 a.m. every morning to get a quality workout and to have a high quality protein rich meal following the workout, right? And still have time to make it, to the office in time, properly dressed and groomed. Like if you don't see yourself as that person and you don't make that identity shift within that 66-day deconstruction period, you're never going to be able to land in that habit that you need to support your goal long term. Right. So, some people think, well, I just need to be able to do this for a short term. Okay. And also, right, you're only going to get short-term results and outcomes. And if that's all that you want to be committed to and you understand that, then that's fine. But for most people, they have the expectations of long-term commitment, right? Like the expectations of the outcome are the expectations that a person should have that's committed long-term, that has done the deconstruction work, right? So they want that, but they only want to put in the short-term effort. And it doesn't work that way. Right?
Not even close.
It doesn't work like that in your health and well-being. It doesn't work like that in your business. And it doesn't work like that in your relationships, right? You cannot put short-term effort into relationships. Oh, no, the honeymoon phase has ended, and then all of a sudden, because it doesn't feel the way it used to, and again, it's not producing that chemical cocktail that you used to receive from the excitement of either your new relationship or your new business endeavor or new project or your new thing that you want to do for yourself. Like just because the honeymoon phase is over doesn't mean that now it's not going to be able to like it's just going to be able to coast or anything like that. Like you don't have to actually make any more effort. That actually means you have to work even harder.
Say that one more time. You got to do what?
You have to work even harder
oh, God, okay.
to keep it going,
Okay.
right? Which is like the perfect example, right? Health and wellness is such a good visual example that people can relate to because it's what happens when you hit a plateau. Right?
Gotta change something else.
You're changing things. Oh shit, this is going really well. Oh my gosh, I'm making progress. Finally, I'm actually, then you hit the point where you're like, ooh, I like my results, kind of enjoying this. Oh, you know what? It's not so bad to eat these things instead of those things. And then boom, what happens?
Right back into that. Yep.
Some invisible obstacle shows up, right? Which is your plateau. And that happens in business too, and in relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of you, I'm going to answer a question that I know many of you are thinking right now. Well, what's the difference between 7:30 and 7:15, and how the hell am I going to make an impression on the work I need to get done or my exercise in 15 minutes? Okay. First of all, this is about setting a habit and an intention. Okay, not just driving through to be like, I can do it and get up at 6. Okay, the idea is to work yourself into the habit. So let's use working out because it's just an easy thing. So if I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. and I'm used to getting up at 7:30, and I tell you, start at 7:15, and you're like, well, what the hell am I going to get done in 15 minutes? You're going to get out of bed, you're going to brush your teeth, you're going to put your shoes on, you're going to get dressed, and you're going to walk outside. Or go to your in-home gym, whatever it is. And I don't care if you spend 5 minutes in it. The idea is just that you're prepping your body to go from 7:30 to 7:15 to 7 a.m. to 6:45. You're just slowly backing it down every so many days.
Not necessarily over months, right?
Right, over every so many days.
Either weeks or days, depending on what it is.
Mm-hmm. And I think our third thing that I definitely want to talk about here, so we talked about constructing your goals with intention around a long-term benefit rather than, oh my God, let me just get 10 pounds off and I'll be fine. And we talked about how to deconstruct your habit incrementally to form the new one. But let's also talk about people who need to marry two habits together so that the thing that they need to do can complement the thing they want to do.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So is it like multiple habit changes that need to go into place in order for you to get a specific outcome? Is that what you mean?
Yes. So let's say that you are a Netflix binger. Some of you listening to this love your Netflix shows. You could sit down on a Sunday and you could bang out 6 episodes of whatever trash TV that you enjoy. I can do it too. But you also think to yourself, man, I could really probably use some exercise, right? I have no right to be the best business owner and to help people achieve their goals and create impact if I myself am not taking personal responsibility for my health. I'll say that again for you if you need me to. You don't get to be the business owner that creates impact for other people if you first are not taking personal responsibility for the impact you create on yourself. Get your ass moving. Okay? So if you're a Netflixer and that's what you enjoy doing, then take your tablet to the gym and go walk your ass on a treadmill and watch your Netflix and marry the thing together that you need to be doing with the thing that you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So for me, I exercise 4 or 5 times a week typically. I also like to make sure that I am exercising my mind. I want to be reading. I want to be taking in books. I want to be listening to podcasts like this one. Shameless plug, right? But I don't necessarily have the time to go work out for an hour and then spend a separate hour.
Right.
So what do? Instead of listening to music at the gym, I listen to audiobooks and podcasts. So now I'm marrying the exercise, which I love to do, with the thing that I know I need, which is the mental aspect as well. I'm putting them together so that now I am doing something I enjoy, which is the exercise, with something that I know I need in order to be the best version of myself.
Yeah.
Right? Would I much rather be listening to music? And absolutely, sure I would. And did I immediately go from no music to all books? No. I did 15 minutes of books and then I switched to music. And then I did 30 minutes until I backed myself into that over a month or so time period. And now I can't imagine driving in a car or working out without listening to something educational. Mm-hmm. Okay? So think about that. What is it that you're doing that you enjoy that could potentially be detracting from your business or from your relationships or from your own personal gains, right? And how can you marry that into something that benefits you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I would include that even in like your social time and your relationships, right? And instead of you being the one that, goes to meet your friends, in a setting that isn't conducive to your goals, right? Like if you're going to go meet your friends at a bar that you're going to end up eating and drinking outside of your diet or things that you don't really want to, then why don't you make a plan to go to the gym or some other type of active activity, hike, whatever it is, and invite your friends to that, right? And see if they say yes, which they might not, and that's fine, but you still go do your thing, right?
Right.
Yeah. I think for me, the more that you can marry the things you enjoy with the things that you have to do, and those things you have to do being the things that sustain your healthy habits and your high performance habits. I like to listen to a lot of educational content while I'm meal prepping and cooking and things like that. Like that's my time to do that, and I enjoy that, right? Or if I'm commuting and when I'm in the car, I don't drive as much anymore, but when I'm in the car, it's like if I have to make this drive, then I'm going to also make a dent in this thing that I want to learn about, But yeah, I mean, I think that's a great strategy. Another strategy, like I mentioned, is the creating a social setting or environment for that, which also allows you the opportunity to kind of align your goals with other people that you're in relationship with and see if it's something that you can work towards together, right? And support each other with in accountability. It's another strategy that you can use, right? So if you could come to an agreement, for example, in a relationship with a good friend or your partner that, hey, we want to, right, create this health and fitness goal or something like that, or what would it do for our relationship for us to go on a health and wellness journey together? What could that look like? And then you start to kind of marry and support one another in between, right?
Right, and create the accountability.
Yeah, create the accountability, but also, support the other person when they have resistance. Right, when they have that kind of that feeling that pops up, that's like, shit, snooze, I don't want to go, right? I don't want to do it, right? If I know that my friend, or let's say, for example, a personal trainer is waiting for me at the gym, I'm more likely to get my ass up and go.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then let's talk a little bit, because I want to give people an idea of things that you might be doing that are creating bad habits for you that you don't even realize that you're doing. Okay. So if there's, so for those of you who are listening at home, because you work from home, I want you to pay close attention to me if this is you. Because you work from home, you feel like anytime you're at home, you're in work mode. Okay, this is a bad habit. Okay, because what you have done now is you've associated, or your brain has subconsciously associated, your house with your work. Okay, so if you're one that works the dining room table and then moves to the couch and then goes to your office and then is all over your home working, you have designated your house your office. And anytime you're at home, you have a hard time letting go of work, right? Which can be damaging to your relationship with your kids or to your spouse or to your dog, whatever it may be.
It's
right?
just hard to relax.
Right, exactly. So you're constantly in that space. So your environment plays a big part, right? So where are you working? What is that space? Be in that space and that space only. So that is your designated space for work. All right. So that way, you know, when I'm in this room, in this space, because I work from home, this is what I'm doing. And if you can't do that, then go find one of those, community workspaces and go rent yourself an office and work there, because you need to be able to separate those things, right? Some of those habits are taking away from other enjoyment processes of your life.
Yeah. I think what we're really getting into now are micro habits, right? Which are the habits that sustain and support the habits, right? And that you have to make these changes. This is part of one of the reasons that a lot of people who are trying to make health and wellness changes fail, because they only want to add in the physical activity part and they forget the rest, right? Which is like the diet part. So let's say, for example, if that's the goal, then you need to now learn what to remove from your pantry and refrigerator. You need to learn how to shop in a whole new way. You have to actually clean out, right, everything that's in your house that you shouldn't be eating.
Stop going to the coffee shop where they sell all the pastries that you love.
You might need to change your routine and your schedule of the places that you frequent.
Exactly.
You might also need to change your habits around cooking and meal prep, right? Like if you are on an exercise regimen, you probably do need to meal prep. You probably can't afford to stop everything you're doing to cook, 3 and 4 times a day, right? These are the micro habits that help you sustain the long-term habit and the long-term goal.
Right.
And all of those things need to change, right? So I think a lot of people get into this place where they're like, I want this outcome. If I just change this one thing, I should be able to get there. And they miss or forget all of the micro habits that would be able to sustain or support
that would detract them from
the big habit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And two, we need to definitely discuss this scheduling thing, right? So you as a sustainable, high performance type of person should not be the feather floating in the wind when it comes to your life, your relationships, and your business. Okay. Yeah. Like this should not be your life. You should have a very structured life. But there's 2 ways that people look at this. Okay. So there's 2 ways where people say, okay, well, if I feel like I structure my schedule all the way out, then I've limited my ability to get into my creative zone. And then the other side of that is, well, if I'm in flow and just going about my day, then whatever comes to me, I can be ready for. So let's talk about those two. And I know you have really great thoughts on flowing through your day versus being in a flow state. So let's dissect this person over here who most likely is not very productive. And who is not getting into habits and creative space where they can be their most successful, high-performing self.
Yeah, that used to be me, and that's actually a lot of women, because our feminine energy is an energy of flow, right? But when you're trying to accomplish big goals, that energy doesn't always help you. And so what we need to harness, especially as a feminine woman, is not necessarily flowing in your energy, especially in your time throughout the day. You will actually find that that's exhausting in comparison to where you could be, which is a flow state, operating in a flow state, right? Which anybody can get into, which is the idea that you could actually enter an action-oriented way of operating in your day and in your being, right? In your energy, that allows you to become so closely and hyper-focused on what needs to get done that now it's almost like your body is supporting you with the flow, right? Think about it like muscle memory, right? I'm a dancer, so when I'm doing something and it's muscle memory, I don't have to think about it. It just flows out of me, right? My muscles just do the thing. And so when you start to get into these habits, that's really the whole point, is that it takes you from a place where you have to think about, what am I supposed to be doing right now, into just flow. Like when it's getting close to lunch, you start feeling hungry, when it's getting close to whatever your meal time, right? Like your body gives you a signal. When it's getting close to bedtime, your body gives you a signal, right? And this is when your body's working with you instead of against you, right? When it's time to work and get into those creative space and projects, your brain is ready, right? And it just like drops into that hyper-focused flow state. When we talk about going with the flow, right, you might think that you're maximizing your flexibility and your freedom, but you are actually becoming more rigid and more dependent in that place because you're drifting. You're drifting. And then the moment that you do catch some kind of like focus area or flow, like, oh, well, okay, let me do this. If something comes up, right, like that phone rings and something comes up that misdirects or redirects you, then for you to get back into what you were doing, it just takes longer and longer and longer, right? So let's say if you're in flow state and something happens and you get interrupted, you can step away from that, right, consciously for a few minutes and come right back to it. Whereas when you're going with the flow, you might even get angry about interruptions, or you might drift towards distractions and procrastination just because you can, because you don't have any other structure pulling you in to hyper-focus and flow state.
Yeah, and absolutely. When you're in your going with the flow moments, you're constantly stimulated too, which never really allows you to get into your most creative, most productive space. So think about it this way. If we're going to go from being in a flow state and getting away from going with the flow, we typically need to have a very scheduled, planned out day. Yeah. So, and people say, well, I feel so restricted by my day. Okay, let me break this down for you. You ever gotten in a car and drove somewhere and don't remember the drive? All of you have done this, right? You've gone from point A to point B. Maybe it's from your home to your office or someplace you go all the time, and you can think about everything under the sun, and the car just magically ends up at the destination, okay? This is a state of flow because your brain knows exactly where you need to go, how you need to go there, and you have thought about 10 million other things.
Hyper efficient.
Right. So think about if you have a structure to your day, you know exactly what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and how you're going to do it, how much more present you're going to be in those things because you've allowed yourself to go on autopilot.
Right.
Right. So if my day starts at 6 a.m., I'm going to plan out everything from 6 a.m. until my head hits the pillow at 11 p.m. or 10, whatever time you go to bed. And I'm going to know exactly where I am, what I have to do, and what I'm applying myself to. And I'm going to create a 4-hour block dead center in the middle of the day where I know I'm working on 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. And that's it. There's no other, you're not interrupting me. You can't reach me. My phone is off. Like you can't get me. If you need me, you better call me because I'm not answering texts, I'm not answering emails. Right? Think about how many distractions you have on a daily basis between text, emails, and all this stuff coming through. You feel like you have to answer because you have this phone connected to your hip. And guess what? You don't. It's a distraction and it keeps you from going into autopilot. But having significant times on your schedule where you're answering emails, paying attention to texts, taking phone calls, working on the one thing that you really need to work on that's going to drive your life, your relationships, or your business forward. Right? Knowing what times of the day you're doing that allows you to go on autopilot and be your most creative, most flow state driven self.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to say something that some people are going to not like.
Say it. Say it. I can't wait.
You know, I would venture to say that person is an autopilot, right? They're on autopilot with their dopamine addiction.
Ooh.
They are on autopilot with their procrastination habits. And they're on autopilot with their allowance and their lack of boundaries for distractions. And maybe even having the opportunity to create something that then I can get angry about, right? And get my hit of stress and cortisol and adrenaline and then project out onto other people like my kids, my spouse, my team members, whoever, like, because all of a sudden when I think, oh, I'm ready to focus, right? Because I've been in flow or going with the flow all day. I don't know when my moment where I'm going to feel like focusing or when I'm going to feel motivated is going to happen. But the moment that I have that, all of a sudden, right? Like that's when your kid walks in, that's when your spouse calls you, or that's when whatever. And it's like, oh, don't they know that No, they fucking don't know. Nobody knows what the hell your schedule is, including you. right? So, you know, like we gotta really become conscious about the way that we're operating and the shit that we're creating in our life experience, right? Like this drifting experience, first off, it's no shit. Like a lot of entrepreneurs are in this place, and if you're there, you're not performing at the level you could be, you're not meeting your potential, you're creating an enormous amount of stress and pain for yourself that is totally unnecessary and avoidable.
Coach is fired up, dude. Man, wow. Well said. And people don't understand that you're constantly looking for the next thing that makes you feel happy. This is why you can sit and eat 75 chips out of a bag, but then the 7th or 8th bite of broccoli is like, oh, this sucks, right? Because it's not satisfying the dopamine shot. So we got to stop living for those immediate attention things that make us feel good for a short moment and start keeping our eye on things that are going to give us the long-term satisfaction that we're really looking for. And that's not going to be found in your dopamine going with the flow bullshit, right? That's going to be found in having a structured plan that creates meaningful habits so you can do meaningful shit on a regular basis.
Right.
I hope you guys got some amazing stuff out of our habit talk here. I'm not even going to try to take this further after Coach Oriana just dropped bombs on you guys. But if you want to know more about creating great habits and great mindset shifts, we invite all of you to go to edgyentrepreneurs.com. Mm-hmm. And you can download some free things there that are kind of give you an idea of what it's like to shift your mind in 5 very different specific ways that will help you kind of create better life, better relationships, and better business for yourself. So go definitely grab that. Go check it out. And as always, we are business coaches, right? We are, she is relationship coach, and we want to see you guys be successful, make great high performance habits happen. And if you need help creating your schedules, we'd love to be able to do that for you. So, thanks everyone for listening in. We'll see you guys next week with some more, hopefully fired up Oriana.
See ya.